Tonight is just like so many other nights. Your small apartment is almost completely dark, with just a thin strip of light from your phone screen fading onto the ceiling. Outside the window, the city still has a few late cars passing by, engines humming in the distance like a soft background track. Inside, everything is quiet, at least on the outside. Inside your head, it is a different story. You've closed your laptop, you've answered the last emails, you've taken a warm shower, you've pulled the blanket over yourself, all the things that were supposed to be done for a long day. You've almost checked them all off, but the moment you lie down, the moment the light in the room softens, a whole stream of thoughts starts to switch on, louder, clearer, without asking if you're ready. The words from this morning's meeting, your manager's face when you slipped and said something a little awkward, a seen message from someone you're trying to pretend you are fine with, an email you still have not replied to because you're not sure how to say it right, choices you made, choices you did not make, endless versions of I should have, playing on repeat. Your body is tired, but your mind feels like it just clocked into a second shift. You turn over, you pull the blanket higher, you unlock your phone, scroll through a few apps, then turn it off again. You try to close your eyes, count a few breaths, then open them back up and stare at the faint glow of the city slipping in through the curtains. And there is this small part of you that quietly asks, why am I this tired and my mind still will not calm down? Why does it feel like I don't even have the right to silence inside my own head? Maybe all day you've been living in noise, the noise of emails, meetings, notifications, timelines, deadlines, the noise of having to show up better, smarter, calmer, more together than you actually feel inside. And now, when the door is locked from the inside, when no one is calling, when no one needs anything from you anymore, the noise moves inward, turning into a stream of thoughts with no off switch. In a very different time, there was another person living in that kind of noise. War, politics, responsibility, the expectations of an entire empire pressing onto his shoulders. His name was Marcus Aurelius. In the daytime, he was the emperor of Rome. At night, when everyone had withdrawn into their rooms, he sat alone with a lamp, some paper, and his own thoughts. He did not write to publish. He did not write for praise. He did not write to turn his mind into content for the world. He wrote only for himself, like a quiet, honest conversation between him and the deepest part of who he was. Those lines were later collected and called meditations. But for Marcus, they were simply his night notes, the scribbles of someone trying to find a little stillness in a life that was far too loud. Tonight, you are not an emperor. You are not leading an empire, but you are still carrying a small kingdom of your own on your shoulders. Your work, your family, the people you care about, the expectations no one sees, the standards you quietly set for yourself. And maybe, just like Marcus, you are needing a very small, very private space, a place where your mind can sit down, breathe, and look back at the day without staying in emergency mode. When people talk about stillness, it often sounds like something fancy and far away, almost impossible to reach. Like a monk sitting motionless on a mountain, or a beach house with no traffic, no pressure, no responsibilities. Marcus saw it differently. He lived in the middle of military campaigns, political schemes, sickness, and loss. And still, he was able to say, nowhere can you find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in your own soul. Stillness, for Marcus, was not when the world goes silent. It is when you no longer chase every single thought that appears. It is when there is a place inside you where your mind is allowed to do nothing. No judging, no analyzing, no explaining, just sitting there with your breath, with your body slowly growing heavier on the bed. Tonight, you do not need to become a philosopher. You do not need to apply Stoicism perfectly like some test you have to get a high score on. You only need one small thing. Give yourself permission to slow down, together with a man who once used his own nights just to talk with himself. Marcus Aurelius. We are not going to try to scrub your mind clean. We are not going to force every thought to disappear. Instead, through this whole night, we are simply going to look back at this day more gently. Separate a few things you can truly adjust from the things that need to be left for tomorrow. Learn how to talk to yourself in a softer, kinder, less harsh voice. And then, little by little, guide your mind back into your body, into your breath, your heartbeat, and the feeling of safety inside this room. Tonight, we are not going to fix everything. We do not need to. Tonight, the only goal is for your mind to slow down just enough, soften just enough, for your body to finally have a real chance to sleep. Everything else, we will let the morning take care of it. There is something interesting here. While you are lying in bed, turning from side to side in the thoughts of a day that just passed, almost 2,000 years ago, another man was having nights just like this. Not in a small apartment, not on a queen-size bed with a memory foam mattress, no blue light from a phone screen. He was in a quiet room of a palace. The light was from fire. The background noise was the sound of guards, the distant echo of the city, footsteps crossing stone hallways. Inside his head, though, it was the same familiar story. The decisions he had made that day, the words he had spoken, the things he did not manage to do, the things he wished he could do over. That man was Marcus Aurelius. Out there in public, he was the Roman emperor. Inside his room at night, he was just a human being sitting alone with his own thoughts, very much like you are now. People often look at status, power, and fame and think, they probably do not struggle the way I do. But if you read the words Marcus wrote to himself, you can see very clearly he was tired, worried, full of self-doubt, and often felt he was not living up to what he believed in. The difference was this: he turned nights like that into a small ritual. Not a complicated ritual, no scented candles, no meditation music, no guided meditation app. Just sitting down, unrolling a piece of paper, writing down whatever was moving through his mind, as if he was talking directly to himself. Not writing for other people to read, not writing to prove he was deep, not writing so someone could call him wise, just asking, how did I live today? What did I think? What did I do? And where did I drift away from what I believe in? Tomorrow, how can I adjust my direction, even just a little bit? He did not call it a journal. He did not label it self-reflection practice. He did not give it a fancy name. He just did it consistently over and over, like brushing your teeth before bed. Those notes were later named meditations, but you can imagine them in a very simple way. Late-night notes from a man trying to stay awake and kind in a life that could easily make him numb or drive him mad. If you pay attention, you will notice that many passages in that book are reminders he repeats again and again, like, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. He understood something you might already feel, even if you have never put it into words. The things you keep thinking before you sleep are not harmless. They are not just passing through for fun. They quietly color your tomorrow. If every night right before sleep, your mind automatically loads a playlist like, I messed up here, I'm not good enough there, people are probably thinking the worst of me, my life is probably going to fall apart because of all this. Then the next morning, you will wake up with a soul already tinted gray before the day has even started. But if each night, like Marcus, you give yourself a few minutes to look back on the day in a different way, lighter, slower, clearer, not to accuse but to understand, your mind will slowly take on a different color, not bright pink, not everything is fine, just a more neutral, steady shade, a color that lets you see the world more clearly and see yourself more fairly. Tonight, you might not have paper, you might not have a pen, you also do not need them. You can use this very time instead, lying in bed, city light filtering through the curtains, the steady sound of the AC or the fan, as your own scroll of paper. Instead of letting your mind run wild and autoplay the regret and overthinking playlist it usually chooses, you can gently guide it down a different path. Not, how bad was I today? But what actually happened to me today? Not, what if everything falls apart? But, of all the things I am scared of, which ones actually happened today and which ones are just stories in my head? You do not have to answer all of these questions with words. Sometimes it is enough just to let them drift through your mind, slowly, clearly. Marcus was not perfect. You will see him reminding himself of the same things over and over. He knew he was quick to anger, quick to defend himself, easily dragged around by his emotions. And each night he sat down and wrote the reminders that he had forgotten during the day. You are the same. You already know many right things. You should stay calmer, be less self-critical, sleep earlier, take better care of yourself. But all day, everything pulls you away from that. Targets, KPIs, messages, deadlines, conversations that have not really ended, silences that feel heavier than words. Night is the place you can return to those things, not to punish yourself for failing, but to say to yourself, yeah, I did rush through today. I did neglect a few things that matter to me. It is okay, at least now I remember. Stillness is not when you have no thoughts left. It is when your thoughts start to have a little more order, when you are no longer sprinting after every single line, every scenario, every image your mind throws up. When you notice, oh, this is just a thought. It is not me. I can look at it and let it pass. Marcus used writing to create that distance. You, in this moment, can use your breath. Try one small thing. While the thoughts are still moving, let a tiny part of your attention come back to your body. The feeling of your back against the mattress, the weight of your body spread across the bed, heavier at your shoulders, your hips, your heels, the texture of the blanket on your skin, a little warm or a little cool. The air brushing the tip of your nose as you breathe in, and a little warmer as you breathe out. The thoughts are still there, but now they are just the background. The spotlight, you start to place it back onto the sensations of right now. On Marcus's nights, there were probably many times when he could not just switch off his mind either. But by sitting down, writing, and seeing his thoughts on the page, he changed them from noise into words. And whatever has turned into words can be read more slowly, understood more deeply, and is no longer as frightening as when it is only a chaotic sound in your head. You are doing something very similar in your own way. No paper, no pen, just lying here and beginning to look back on your day a little slower. You do not have to force yourself to feel grateful, to be positive, or to learn some big lesson. You only need to admit, yeah, there were things today that tired me out. There were things I did not do well. There were moments I felt small, lost, not enough. And at the same time, you can quietly add, but I am still here. I still made it through this day. I am still trying. Even an emperor needed nights to remind himself of these things. So a person lying in a small apartment in a bright city like you certainly deserves nights like that too. Right now, you do not have to finish this reflection. You do not have to reach a perfect conclusion. You do not have to write out a plan to change your entire life starting tomorrow. You only need to stay here a little longer. Let the thoughts stop chasing each other like cars on a highway at rush hour and start to look more like slow clouds drifting across a night sky. The traffic outside has thinned out. The light on your wall is softer now. In this room, it is just you, your body, your breath, and a quiet friend sitting here, telling this story with you. There is still a lot of noise in the world that we have not talked about yet. But we are not in a hurry. Tonight, everything can be brought out and looked at, slowly, gently in the dark. During the day, you might not really feel what is going on inside you simply because the outside is already loud enough. In the morning, your alarm goes off and your hand reaches for your phone before your eyes are even fully open. Maybe there is an email that arrived sometime in the night from another time zone. Maybe there is a notification from a work app, a few messages in a group chat, a news headline that is not exactly comforting. Your body is still half asleep, but your mind has to switch to online mode. You step straight into the current of a new day, turning on your computer, opening your inbox, joining an online meeting while you're still holding your first coffee. You type, "Good morning" in your team chat, smile at the camera, say a few sentences to prove that you are fine, that you are on top of things. That is when the sound of the day begins, the chime of new emails, calendar alerts popping up on your screen, someone pinging you. Do you have a minute? A private message. Can you take a look at this real quick? All day, you are like a browser tab that never closes. There's always something new popping up. There's always something that needs a response. There's always something demanding your attention. Maybe you work in an open office with the sound of keyboards, chairs sliding, people going in and out, casual conversations, bursts of laughter. Maybe you work remotely in your small apartment, but the noise is your own eyes glancing up at the clock on your screen. What time is it now? Have I done enough? Is the deadline close? In the short breaks between tasks, you pick up your phone, scroll through a few stories, a few short videos. Nothing truly important. But your mind just collected a few more images to compare yourself with. A few more reasons to ask, why am I still here, feeling like this, when everyone else seems to be moving so fast? By late afternoon, the headache might start to show up, partly from the screen, partly from long meetings and conversations that go nowhere. Partly because your mind is holding 10 different threads open at the same time. This project, that client, another plan, family issues, money, relationships. You might walk out of the office, step onto the street, cross traffic, get on the subway, or drive home. The outer noise becomes the sound of horns, tires on wet pavement, voices in the train car, music from the radio. Inside, you are still replaying what your manager said in the lunch meeting, The feeling that you did not say what needed to be said, or that you said it in a way you wish you had not. A small comment from a coworker that keeps echoing in your head. They may have forgotten it already, but your mind keeps it, rewinds it, plays it back. When you finally get home, close the door, drop your keys on the table, take off your shoes, and fall onto the couch, there is this very brief, very thin breeze of a feeling. Finally, quiet. No more traffic, no more hallway sounds, no supervisor calling your name. Just your small apartment, white walls, a few familiar objects, and the soft yellow light from the kitchen. But that quiet does not last very long. The moment your body starts to relax, the inner noise begins to turn up the volume. It is no longer the beeps of notifications, it is the whisper of questions. What do they really think of me after that meeting? If I had done it differently, would everything be better now? Am I falling behind? Am I wasting my time? If I keep living like this, where will I be in a few years? The outer noise is obvious. You can hear it. The inner noise is more dangerous because it uses your own voice. Marcus also lived in noise. Not the noise of highways or notifications, but the sound of guards' footsteps, advisors debating, messages from the battlefield, the weight of thousands of lives and expectations landing on him every single day. He knew what it felt like to be pulled away from himself by hundreds of urgent things. He knew what it was like to end a day and still feel mentally glued to everything that had happened, everything people had said, every situation he felt he could have handled better. And he realized if he did not have a place that was truly still, he would be crushed between all that noise. That is why he returned to something very simple. To look and then put things down, not to deny, not to pretend everything was fine, not to force himself to stop thinking, just to look clearly and accept some things are his and some things are not. You can try to look at your day the way Marcus looked at his. There are moments that truly sit in your hands, how you replied to an email, how you listened to someone, whether you chose the words, "I'm sorry," or chose to blame, whether you noticed your own emotions when you were triggered. And there are moments that are not in your hands, other people's tone of voice, your boss's mood this morning, the company's decisions, the state of the economy, events happening far away that reach you only as pressure. If you never separate these things, everything blends into one heavy lump. And when you get into bed, it feels like you have failed at everything. But if, like Marcus, you gently sort them out, this is something I did my best with, even if the result is not what I hoped. This is something I can start to adjust slowly from tomorrow. And this is something that will not change no matter whether I think about it for another hour or all night. The amount of noise in the day is the same, but inside you begin to have a thin layer of stillness, like a quiet base that everything else just moves across. Outer noise is not the enemy. Without it, life would be very empty. The problem is that when the outer noise finally turns off, you immediately switch on the inner noise, as if silence is something dangerous. Tonight, you can try something a little different. Instead of rushing to fill the quiet with another show, another video, another round of scrolling, you can let yourself pause here for a few minutes. No more new information, no more new images, no more new stories from other people. Just the story of today, your story. You can replay your morning, your noon, your afternoon, like you are watching a finished clip. Not fast forwarding to find the mistakes, just watching with a bit of curiosity, a bit of gentleness. Where did you try harder than usual today? Where did you slip back into an old reaction that you no longer want to keep? Where did you wish you could say no, but heard yourself say, okay? Where did you take care of yourself, even if it was just a warm glass of water between tasks, a single deep breath, a message you sent to someone you trust? Inner noise begins to change when you change the questions you ask it. If you only ask, "Where was I wrong?" it will hand you a very long, very detailed list. If you ask, "What actually happened to me today?" it will start to give you images, the good parts and the awkward parts, but without a verdict. You do not have to write them down like Marcus. You only need to let those scenes pass through slowly, clearly, like you are watching the day of someone you do not hate, someone you are learning to treat more kindly. While you do that, your body is still lying on the bed. Your shoulders might be a little tight. You might notice you are clenching your fists or lightly biting your teeth. You can simply notice, then loosen a bit. Let your shoulders drop. Open your hands. Let your tongue rest instead of pressing against the roof of your mouth. The inner noise will not disappear all at once, but it no longer has to shout to get your attention. It is being heard piece by piece. Outside, if you listen carefully, there might still be a late car passing by. The engine sound moves away, fades, gets smaller. The city is still there, but the sound no longer fills all the space. Inside you, it is the same. The questions, worries, worst-case stories, they still exist. But tonight, you do not have to answer all of them. You only need to admit they are there, and at the same time, create a little space between them and your heart, your body. That small space is what people call stillness, not some magical state that only special people can reach. Just a few seconds, a few minutes when your mind reacts less, fights less, tries to control less, and is willing to sit down next to you. Tonight, in this room, you are allowed to choose the volume of both worlds, the outer and the inner. Outside is already quiet enough for you to hear the AC, the soft brush of the blanket on your skin, the faint creak of the bed when you change position. Inside can grow quieter too, not by switching off, but by you refusing to run at full speed with every thought. You are not running away from the noise. You are learning how not to be swallowed by it, especially in the hours that were meant for your rest. From here, we will go a little deeper into what Marcus called a retreat, the still place within you where everything outside may knock on the door, but does not automatically need to be let in. There is a line Marcus wrote that sounds very simple, but if you are lying in a dark room like tonight, you might feel it touch exactly what you need. People seek retreats for themselves in the country, by the sea, in the hills, and you yourself used to long for such things. Then, right after that, he ends with the sentence we mentioned earlier. Nowhere can you find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in your own soul. We are always looking for a place to hide from the noise, a house in the suburbs, a small cabin near the woods, a quiet beach with no tourists, a long trip far away from the city. In your time, it might be a plane ticket to somewhere on the map, a pretty little homestay, a hidden gem coffee shop only a few people know about. The idea is, when I get there, I will be more at peace. When I leave here, everything in my head will feel lighter. Marcus understood that feeling, but he also knew a truth that is a little hard to accept. If there is no stillness inside you, then no matter which retreat you go to, the noise will follow. You can lie on a beach while your mind is still checking email in your imagination. You can stay in a wooden cabin in the forest while your mind is replaying conversations that never really ended. You can sit in a quiet cafe while inside you, versions of yourself are still arguing. That is why Marcus turns the question around. The point is not, where do I go to escape? The real question is, inside myself, is there anywhere I still allow myself to rest? If you think of your mind as an apartment, most of the time it probably looks like an open-plan office. Lights on, screens on, papers everywhere, notifications popping up, people walking in and out. Is there any corner in that apartment reserved for stillness? A small sofa by the window, a corner with a warm lamp, a little table that only exists to hold a warm drink, a book, a slow breath. If the answer is no, then tonight might be the night you start building that corner. Not in your actual home, but in your own mind. You do not have to imagine anything complicated. Just picture a simple room inside you. The door is closed. The light is not too bright, not harsh, just a soft, warm glow, like your bedside lamp right now. No alarms, no notifications, no to-do list taped to the wall. No one is calling you. No one needs a reply from you right away. In that room, you are not an employee, not a manager, not someone's child, not someone's partner, not a good friend or a bad friend. You are just you. No performance, no image to maintain, no role to play. If all day you have been standing in the noisy living room of your life, talking, smiling, explaining, reporting, proving, fixing problems, then this inner retreat only asks one thing from your mind. Sit down. Sit down in the sense of your mind, not your body. Your body is already lying down. It is only your mind that keeps pacing from room to room, opening this door, inspecting that corner, rummaging through old closets of memory. You can gently invite it to sit on the chair in that inner room. No forcing, no scolding. Stop thinking. Just say to yourself the way you would speak to a close friend after a long day. Come here and sit for a bit. We do not have to fix anything else tonight. In that space, you begin to feel the small things you missed all day. The steady airflow from the AC or the fan. The soft sound of the blanket brushing your skin when you move. The distant ticking of a clock in another apartment if you listen carefully. Or simply the very specific silence of your place when it is late. You can rest a hand on your chest or your stomach and feel your breath gently lifting and lowering your palm. You do not need any special breathing technique. You only need to notice, I am still breathing. Even with this many things in my head, my body is quietly doing its job. That is a kind of stillness you can touch directly. The stillness of a steady breath, the stillness of a body lying still, the stillness of a familiar room wrapped around you. From that base, you return to Marcus's sentence. But this time, not just with your mind. Nowhere can you find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in your own soul. If your soul, your mind, has no place where you can rest, then every retreat outside will only be temporary. You come back and everything is the same. But if little by little you build a small room inside you that you can step into every night, close the door a bit, and sit with yourself for a few minutes, then even in the same small apartment, you are already on a retreat. Retreat is not running away. It is not pretending there are no problems. Marcus never did that. He knew very clearly what he had to face the next day. He saw the cruelty of war, the impermanence of life, the weakness inside himself. But in that quiet place, he allowed himself not to handle all of it right away. He just observed, wrote things down, and adjusted the direction of his mind a little. You can do the same thing simply by changing where you stand in relation to your thoughts. If all day long your thoughts are the center, and you are the one running after them, trying to put out fires here and catch up there, then in this retreat room, you become the center. Thoughts are just visitors passing through. Some visitors are pleasant, a moment when someone praised you, a time you felt capable, a song you love. Some visitors are difficult, a harsh comment, a decision you regret, a vague fear. All of them can come in, but you do not have to jump up and host each one. You do not have to argue with each one. You can simply watch them pass through this room and then leave. At some point, you will notice the room is not the visitors. The room is the space that holds them all and stays no matter who arrives and who leaves. That is what Marcus meant by your own soul. Not in a religious sense, but as the deepest part of you that does not rise and fall with every email, every message, every look, every comment. All day you have lived on the surface. Tonight you can give yourself a chance to sink one layer deeper. Not too far, just far enough to get below the waves. You can imagine yourself lying at the bottom of a quiet pool, looking up at the surface. Above, thoughts are still moving, images still trembling, like city lights reflecting on water. But where you are, the water's cool, the sound is softer, everything moves more slowly. Or you can imagine yourself sitting in a chair by the window of this inner room, looking out at the city at night. The lights are still blinking, cars still move, other people's lives are still going on. But you do not have to participate in all of it. You just sit there and breathe. Stillness is not an achievement. No one gives you a medal for being calmer than others. It is simply a form of kindness you can offer yourself after a day when you have been holding so much. Maybe no one in your day made you feel safe. No one said, "That is enough for today." No one gave you permission to rest. No one reminded you to stop. In this inner room, you become the one who does that for yourself. You can whisper in your mind very slowly, "Today was enough. Not perfect, but enough. Things are not finished, but I made it this far. Tonight, I allow myself to rest." If that sentence feels hard to say, you can borrow Marcus's voice, or the voice of anyone you imagine as a mature, gentle friend sitting next to you right now. Let them say it for you. You only have to listen. For a few minutes, you do not have to be the one carrying everything. You are just a human being, lying in a dark room, breathing, allowed to do nothing. Outside, the city is still lit. Tomorrow, the world will still spin. Your problems will not disappear overnight. But if tonight you add even a single new brick to this quiet room inside you, then whatever happens tomorrow, you will know you have a place to return to. Not in some forest, not on a distant beach, not in another city, right here. In the room you are lying in your own mind, your own breath, your own body. When you allow it to become a retreat, even for just a few minutes at the end of the day, if you look a little closer, you will see something important. Not everything that is keeping you awake tonight is the same. Some things are like a rope that is still in your hands. You are just gripping it too hard, squeezing until your hands ache and your chest tightens. And there are other things where, no matter how you try to hold on, the other end of the rope has already slipped out of your reach a long time ago. But your mind still believes it has to hang on at all costs. Epictetus once said a line that became the foundation of Stoic thinking. Some things are in our control and others not. Some things belong to us, the rest do not. Marcus Aurelius echoed that spirit in his own way. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. You have power over your mind, not over outside events. When you realize this, you will find strength. It sounds very simple, almost too obvious. Yet here you are, in bed near midnight, doing the exact opposite. You lie here trying to replay that lunchtime meeting to see what you should have said, which line would have sounded smarter. You think about the email you already sent and wonder if you should have softened your words or been firmer or added more detail. You imagine the other person's reaction to your last message, even though they have not replied. You live through each detail again as if thinking a little harder might somehow rewrite the past. Meanwhile, the things that are still truly in your hands, how you speak to yourself, how you understand your own feelings, how you choose to meet tomorrow, those things are left untouched. If Marcus could look into your night for just a moment, he would probably gently remind you. The things that happen today, those are outside events. What you are choosing to think about them right now, that is the part that belongs to you. You can picture today like a desk covered in papers. Some pages are still in the can work on this pile. Some already have a stamp on them and have been sent. They cannot be pulled back and rewritten. From morning to night, many things passed across that desk. A morning meeting where you spoke less than usual because you felt you had nothing valuable enough to add. An email you sent, sharing an idea you had worked on for a long time, only to receive a short, flat reply. A conversation with a loved one where you said a few words that made the air heavier. A small decision at work that you are still not sure was right. Right now, instead of letting all of that blend into one big block of "I am terrible," you can separate them the way Marcus did when he looked at his own day. There are things that belong to you. Your intention when you wrote that email, you tried to be clear, honest, respectful. The way you tried to stay calm in the meeting, even while your heart was beating fast. The fact that you noticed you spoke harshly to someone you love, and you genuinely felt sorry afterward. The effort you put into your work, even though the result is still uncertain. And there are things that do not belong to you. The mood and schedule of the person reading your email. Your managers, your co-workers, your client's perspective on your idea, shaped by a whole context you cannot control. The other person's old wounds, fears, and patterns of reacting in that conversation. The way the market, the environment, the system around you reacts to your effort. When it all blends together, you feel like a total failure. When you separate it, you begin to see it is not "I am bad at everything." It is, there are parts of today I would like to do differently if I get another chance. In this dark room, you can gently walk through a few of the moments that are haunting you most. Not to hit yourself, but to sort them. You can start with whatever is spinning fastest in your mind. Maybe it is something your boss said, a piece of feedback that made you feel useless. A "you should have known better" that is still echoing. You can ask, in the situation, what part is still in my hands? Maybe it is, next time I can ask more questions when I am not sure, instead of staying quiet and getting it wrong. I can learn a new skill so I'm not completely dependent on someone else for this kind of task. I can practice how to respond when I'm criticized so I do not freeze the way I did today. Then you ask, and what part is not mine? Maybe it is. Today my boss had a string of bad days already, and I just happened to be the last person in line. The way they see me is colored by their own work history, their own fear of their own boss. The culture of the company, always urgent, always tense, with very little room for mistakes. This does not excuse the way people hurt you, it simply keeps you from carrying pieces that are not yours. You can do the same with a relationship, a message that never got a reply, a feeling of being abandoned. In that story, what is yours? The expectations you placed on them. How clearly you tried to communicate. The way you spoke to yourself after they went silent. Did you throw all the blame on yourself? And what is not yours? Their emotional history, their fear of attachment, their current capacity to hold any kind of connection. You do not need to turn this into a long written exercise. You only need to choose 1 or 2 heavy things from tonight and look at them with Marcus's eyes. Separate, see, then put them down. Putting down is not abandoning. It is not becoming numb. It is simply admitting, this part here, if I think about it for another half hour, another hour, the whole night, it will not change. I can come back to it tomorrow with a clearer head. Your body is lying in bed, but your mind may still be standing, bracing, trying to hold everything up. You can imagine each thought, each story, each person as something heavy you are carrying. A comment that feels like a rock. An email that feels like a box. A relationship that feels like a full suitcase. You can look and ask, is there anything I can put down on the floor for a few hours tonight? Not throw away, just set it next to the bed. It will still be there. It will not vanish. But your arms, your shoulders, your back will feel a little lighter. After he wrote his thoughts, Marcus did not keep them all spinning in his head. He left them on the page. The page held them through the night so his mind could rest. You do not have paper? That is okay. You can choose another place to leave things for now. Maybe a simple image of a small box in the corner of the room. You imagine placing each worry you are holding into that box. Worries about work, money, health, the future. You can whisper, I know you matter, but tonight I cannot handle all of you. I will come back to you tomorrow. Right now I need to sleep. It may sound childish, but often your mind only needs a very clear permission like that. A simple, concrete sentence, so it does not have to keep sounding the alarm. While you're doing this, your body is already sending its own signals that it wants to rest. Your eyelids are heavier, your shoulders softer, your breath a little slower. You can bring your attention back to your breathing once more, feeling the air go in and out. It does not need to be very deep or perfectly even. It only needs to be noticed. Outside the window, the city still has a few late lights on. Somewhere, someone else is lying in their own bed, with their own unfinished stories looping in their mind, just like you. But in your room tonight, you're learning something many people were never taught: to choose what is important enough to carry into sleep and what can be left for tomorrow. In your hands, there are not as many things as your mind likes to pretend, but there are also not as few as your feeling of helplessness whispers. Tonight, in your hands, there is still the way you talk to yourself about this day, whether you allow your body to rest or not, whether you drag everything into sleep with you or choose to carry only a few lighter things. The rest, other people's reactions, tomorrow's dynamics, everything beyond your reach, you can leave it at the edge of the night, not because you do not care, but because, as Marcus reminded you, the only strength you truly have starts inside your own mind. Tonight, that strength might be as simple as daring to say, that is enough for today. The rest, tomorrow. In the soft darkness of your room, that sentence sounds small, but it is a quiet act of respect toward yourself, toward your body, your heart, and the sleep that has been waiting for you for a long time. There is something almost everyone does, but very few people notice themselves doing. Every night before sleep, they put themselves on trial. There is no courtroom, but everything is there. On one side, the evidence. The times you said the wrong thing, the tasks you did not finish, the meetings where you stayed silent, the messages you read and left hanging. On the other side, the prosecutor, that voice in your head, sharp and cold, always ready to grab the exact moment you felt most ashamed. And almost never is there a defense. You lie in bed with the lights dimmed. The room looks peaceful. Inside, a serious trial is going on. Why did you answer like that? Why did you not do better? Why are you still not as far as everyone else? Why did you let that happen again? There are not many questions like, given the situation, did you actually try your best today? What did you do well that you never gave yourself credit for? What did you learn about yourself that you did not know before? Marcus Aurelius was no stranger to self-examination. If you read what he wrote, you will see he was very direct with himself. No avoidance, no sugarcoating. But there is one important difference. He did not write to torture himself. He wrote to correct his course, like a captain checking the map at the end of the day to see if the ship has drifted too far off track. He once reminded himself, be tolerant with others and strict with yourself. This line is often misunderstood as a call to self-punishment. But if you read it in the context of all of meditations, the strict that Marcus talks about is not about name-calling or self-abuse. It is about honesty, clarity, no excuses, held together with deep respect for himself as a human being who is trying. Marcus did not write to scream at himself. He wrote the way a teacher would speak to a student they believe in. Serious but trusting, direct but never humiliating. Tonight, look at how you are talking to yourself. When you remember sitting in that meeting, unable to get a decent sentence out, what does the voice in your head say? Useless. And you call yourself a professional. No wonder you never get far. When you think about the message you sent that never got a reply, what does that voice say? See, no one really values you. You are always the one who needs people. No one ever actually needs you. When you think about not finishing the plan you made for today, that voice whispers, you are all talk. You never follow through. So many years and you are still the same. If you spoke to a close friend like that, a friend lying on a couch crying after a horrible day, you would feel cruel. Yet with yourself, you do this almost every night on autopilot. Seneca once wrote, "We are our own worst enemy." Often, the one who hurts us most is not other people, but the way we treat ourselves. Tonight, instead of opening that courtroom again, you can try something different. You can review the day, but not through the eyes of a judge, through the eyes of a mature, grounded friend sitting on the couch next to you. You can imagine another evening. You come home after a bad day, open the door, drop your bag, and sigh. A friend you trust is already there with a hot cup of tea on the table. They do not ask why you are not stronger. They simply ask, "How was today? Tell me." When you start talking, they are not taking notes to build a case. They are not waiting for you to finish so they can hand down a verdict. They just listen, sometimes nodding, sometimes only saying, "Yeah, that sounds really rough." Tonight, you can be that friend to yourself. You do not have to pretend you are fine. You do not have to paint things in pretty colors. You can tell yourself in your head very honestly, today I messed this thing up. Today I avoided that conversation because I was scared. Today I shrank in that meeting. But instead of adding, and that proves I am nothing, you pause there for a moment and notice how your body reacts. Does your throat tighten a little? Does your chest feel heavier? Do your eyes sting even if tears do not fall? That is not proof that you are weak. It is proof that you are still alive, still able to feel. If a friend were sitting next to you, they might say, "Yeah, that sounds painful, but I see that you went through it. You are here on this couch telling me about it. That counts for something." Throughout his writing, Marcus often reminds himself that people will make mistakes, lose their temper, fall short, including him. He did not expect himself to become a perfect statue that never fails. He only wanted this. When he failed, he would notice, adjust, and move on. You can borrow that spirit for your day. Not, "I am terrible," but today there were moments when I did not live the way I want to. I see them now. Tomorrow, I will try to do it a little differently. If you look closely, today is not only made of moments you want to erase. There are also small moments you handled well, but your mind usually skips over them. A thank you gave the delivery person for climbing all those stairs. A small favor you did for a coworker that no one asked you to do. A moment when you could have dumped your anger on someone and chose not to. A tiny pause in the middle of a tired afternoon when you stood up, drank some water, and took a deep breath. Those things are quieter. They do not generate dramatic stories like "I failed," so the mind does not keep them. But if every night you replay only the scenes where you look small and never replay the ones where you were kind, your self-image will twist out of shape. Tonight, in the stillness of your room, you can give those kind moments a little bit of light. You can ask, "What did I do today that was small but not easy for me? What did I protect today that really matters to me, even though the situation was not ideal?" The answer might be very simple. This morning, I was about to skip food, but I still ate something. This afternoon, I almost said something sarcastic, but I swallowed it. Tonight, even though I'm tired, I still replied to a message from that friend so they know I am here. Those things will not make you a successful person by the world's standards. They are what keep you human. If you only look at a day through what you did not achieve, you will always see yourself on the side of not enough. If you also look at the things you did do, especially in the middle of fear, exhaustion, and anxiety, you will see a different picture. Someone imperfect, but always trying. Marcus offers a line that works almost like a practical guide. If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. You can use that line, but turn it toward how you talk to yourself. When you think, "I did not do anything right today," ask, "Is that actually true, or is this just a strong emotion talking?" When you think, "Everyone thinks I am useless," ask, "Do I have real evidence for that, or am I exaggerating?" If the sentence in your head is not right, not true, you can treat it like a sentence you do not need to repeat. You are not required to believe everything your mind says to you, especially near midnight. Looking back at today with kindness does not mean denying your mistakes. It means you recognize them without reducing your entire self to those moments. You are not the email you have not answered. You are not someone's disappointed look. You are not one bad meeting. You are not one unproductive day. You are the person who walked through all of that, carrying both fatigue and effort and awkward moments, and is now lying on this bed in this room, still trying to understand yourself a little more. That on its own is a form of courage. As you start to see yourself this way, as someone who tries, not a criminal to be punished, your body begins to receive a different signal. Your shoulders curl less, your jaw unclenches a bit, your chest feels slightly easier to breathe in, even though none of your problems have magically disappeared. Outside, the night is sinking deeper into quiet. Some windows have gone dark. The city is slowing down. Inside, your mind, after being seen, heard, and treated less harshly, also starts to slow. Not because you have resolved the entire day, but because you have given it a decent ending. Through a softer gaze toward yourself, your last thought about today can be something as simple as, "Today I did what was mine to do, with the strength I had and the tools I have right now. It is not perfect, but it is real. And because of that, tonight I deserve to rest." The sentence does not have to be perfect. It only has to be honest. From here, the rest of the night is no longer a trial. It is just a very slow, very quiet passage that carries you from still in the day into allowing myself to sleep. You do not have to prove anything more, not to anyone, not even to yourself. There is a very small moment just now, and if you were paying attention, you probably felt it. It was the moment you whispered to yourself, "Today was enough. I deserve to rest." For a brief second, the self-blaming voices in your head went quiet. Not completely silent, but they paused, like a loud room where someone has just turned the volume down a little. If you stop there, your mind will try to turn the volume back up. It will remember one more detail, one more worry, one more story. That is how it has been running for many years. But tonight, instead of following it into another loop, you can do something very different. You can stop going further into your head and go down into your body. All day long, your body has had to follow the schedule of your mind. How many hours you sit, when you eat, whether you drink water or not. How many hours you slept last night, whether you stretched your back, whether you walked a little between tasks. The mind gives the orders. The body is the quiet soldier that just obeys. At night, very often, the mind keeps holding meetings. It talks about the future, dissects the past, argues with people who are not even in the room. And the body is still here, waiting for you to remember it. Marcus had a very gentle way of seeing this. He saw the body as part of nature, working with its own rhythm without needing the mind to manage every second. He once wrote, "The elements move upward, downward in all directions. The motion of virtue is different. It moves in a straight line, and it cannot be diverted. The body, the breath, the heartbeat, these are all natural movements that continue whether you pay attention or not. The only thing you truly control is somewhere else, where you place your mind. Tonight, you can choose to place your mind on the life moving through your body, not in a medical, analytical way, just feeling, the way you might listen to very soft music from far away. You can start at the easiest place, the contact between your body and the bed. How is your back touching the mattress? Where is the pressure strongest? At your shoulders, your lower back, your hips? Is there any area that still feels tight? The back of your neck, your throat, the space between your shoulder blades? You do not need to fix anything right away. Just notice. Okay, this spot is a little tense. You can gently lower your shoulders as if someone laid their hands on them and said, "Relax." You do not have to release everything, just loosen 1 or 2%. What about the feeling of your head on the pillow? Is the pillow soft or a little too high? You can slowly turn your head to the left or right until your neck does not have to hold itself up anymore. When you find the most comfortable spot available to you right now, stay there. Do not optimize further. Do not chase the perfect position. Just say, "This is okay." Not perfect, but good enough for me to lie still for a while. From your back, you can bring your attention down to your feet. Where are your feet right now? Straight, turned slightly out, touching each other, or a little apart? Are your toes curled? If they are, you can gently let them open, as if you were placing them on soft sand, even though they are simply under the blanket. All these tiny movements, rolling your shoulders, adjusting your head, relaxing your feet, are not just about sleeping posture. They are messages you send to your body. I see you. I know you have been tense all day. Now I am giving you permission to rest. Your mind may not fully believe that yet. It may try to interrupt. What about that thing? What about the deadline? What about the future? Each time that happens, you do not have to argue with it. You just come back to your breath, not in a strict counting pattern, not forcing yourself to breathe very deep the right way. Just noticing how your breath is moving when you're not trying to control it. You can place one hand on your belly and one on your chest. When you breathe in, which hand rises more? When you breathe out, which hand falls more clearly? If you realize that you are holding your breath or breathing short and fast, you can simply let your exhale be slightly longer than usual from time to time. You do not need to push hard, just a little longer, like the quiet sigh you make after someone tells you, "It's okay. It's done." Marcus once reminded himself, "It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live." One of the ways people never begin to live is by spending their whole life in their head and forgetting that they have a body. You cannot live fully if everything happens only on the screen of your thoughts. The body is where every real experience is felt: joy, sadness, exhaustion, relief, peace. Tonight, when there is no more work to do, your body finally has a chance to do one simple job: to recover. But it can only do that fully when the mind stops interfering so much. You can help by taking your mind through your body like a gentle check-in. Start with your forehead. Is it tight or smooth? If it is tight, imagine you are smoothing it out with your fingers from the center towards your temples, even if your hands do not move at all. What about your eyes? Are they more open than they need to be, even though the room is dark? Let your eyelids grow heavier, not squeezing shut, just letting them fall the way they do when you start to drift off. Are your teeth clenched? If they are, you can create a tiny space between your upper and lower teeth and let your tongue rest instead of pressing against the roof of your mouth. These small tensions are where your body holds the tiredness of the day. Your neck, your shoulders, your chest, your belly, your hips, your thighs, your legs, your feet. Give each area 1 or 2 breaths to scan it. What did you tense up for today? Can you soften just a little now? You do not need to hear an answer. The body has its own language. As soon as you ask, it has already started to do its part. Meanwhile, your mind might still jump in with thoughts. Remember to do that tomorrow. Do not forget to answer that email. What if there is not enough money this month? You cannot stop those thoughts from appearing, but you can change how you respond. Instead of grabbing them and breaking them apart, you can smile softly inside and say, "Okay, I hear you. Tomorrow." Then you turn back to the feeling of your hand on your belly, rising and falling with your breath. The stillness you are looking for is not the total absence of thoughts. It is having a place you can return to every time your thoughts drag you too far away. Tonight, that place is your body. This small room, the sound of the AC or the fan, the blanket, the pillow, the mattress, the breath. You can treat each moment where you catch yourself wandering as a success, not a failure. My mind ran off again. Okay, back to the breath. That is a kind of practice Marcus, if he lived in this era, would probably recognize, just with different words. For him, it was returning to nature, to what is simple and unforced. For you tonight, it is returning to something very ordinary, a tired but living body lying on a bed in a locked room where no one needs anything from you right now. Maybe in your life, very few people have ever given you the feeling of you really get to rest. There is always more work, always more people, always more responsibility. But right now, no matter how crowded your schedule is, no matter how much waits for you tomorrow, you still have these minutes. This short stretch of time that you can decide belongs to your body, not to email, not to other people's opinions, not to guesses about the future, only to each breath, each group of muscles letting go. You can imagine that with every exhale, you place a little bit of tension outside the edge of the bed. A bit from your shoulders, a bit from your chest, a bit from your belly, a bit from your legs. Exhaling does not mean pushing everything out like a movie scene. It just carries away 1 or 2% of what you no longer need to hold. After a few minutes, all those small percentages add up. 10, 15, maybe 20%. Not everything, just enough for your body to recognize, wait, maybe tonight they are really letting me rest. Marcus did not have a heart rate monitor or a sleep tracking app, but he understood something. The night is for body and mind to reorder themselves. If the mind keeps trying to control outside events at this hour, all your effort during the day will get worn down very fast. Tonight, you are making a different choice. Instead of spending another 30 minutes thinking, you are using those 30 minutes to let your body move into a quieter zone. You cannot command sleep like you schedule a meeting, but you can prepare the ground for it. A body that is less tense, a breath that is smoother, a mind that knows, it is safe for me to sleep. The rest can wait for morning. In a little while, we will go even deeper into that stillness. But right now, the simple fact that you are lying here, paying attention to these small sensations, that alone is a big step away from the old habit of using the night to put yourself on trial. Your body has been waiting all day for this moment. You can let it speak now. Not with words, but with very quiet signals. Heavy eyelids, soft muscles, deeper breaths. In the silence of this room, those are the first signs of stillness. Not the stillness of a philosopher in a book, but a very human stillness. The stillness of a tired body that is finally being allowed to rest. At some point in your life, you probably started believing something very familiar. Before I sleep, I have to think everything through. Until it is clear, until it is done, until I've gone all the way to the end. As if you have not finished thinking, you are not allowed to sleep at all. So night after night, your bed quietly turned into a second desk. You lie down and turn off the lights, but your brain stays bright, working a night shift. Plans for the future, worst-case scenarios. The endless question, what if? Your mind thinks it is preparing, but many times it is only exhausting you. Marcus understood that exhaustion very well. He lived in a world where a wrong decision could cost thousands of lives. If anyone had a good reason to stay up all night thinking about the future, he did. Yet he still chose to write, "Do not let the future disturb you. You will meet it, if you have to, with the same reason that arms you against the present." He believed you do not need to solve all of tomorrow in advance. You just need to keep your reason, your heart, and your spirit steady in the present. The rest, when the future finally arrives and becomes now. You will meet it with the same tools you are using today. Tonight, you can try to trust that once. You have spent this whole day doing what you thought was right, given what you knew and the energy you had. You made choices with today's level of understanding, today's strength, today's information. The future, with all its unknown variables, will not become clearer by you turning over 3 more times in bed and imagining 10 more worst-case outcomes. You can imagine this. In your mind there is a desk, and on it is a stack of folders labeled Future. Each folder is one question. What if I lose my job? What if this relationship goes nowhere? What if I am in the exact same place a few years from now? What if I am never good enough, fast enough, successful enough? All day long, you may have touched some of those folders, but night is when they spread out and cover the whole desk. You sit in a dark room facing a mountain of what if, and your mind whispers, we have to process all of this right now. Marcus would probably smile and say very softly, no, tonight is not your shift for that. You can try reassigning the work to yourself. Daytime, your day self, is the one who deals with the future, making plans, learning skills, finding information, having conversations, adjusting course, laying one small brick at a time. Nighttime, your night self has only one job: to keep your body and mind intact enough so that your day self can actually do those things. If at night you also force your night self to handle tomorrow's tasks, then no part of you ever truly rests. You can say it clearly to yourself, like a manager handing over shifts. The day shift is over. The night shift is not for meetings. These future files for tomorrow. You do not have to say it out loud, you just need to think it slowly, like sending an internal memo to your mind. Outside your window, if you look, the city is doing something similar. Office towers turning off most of their lights, stores cleaning up and pulling down metal shutters. Streetlights stay on, but traffic slows. Not everything stops. There are still night workers, taxis, a few 24/7 shops. But clearly, the city does not run at daytime speed all night. Your body was meant to be like that too. In the day, it runs with you. Meetings, movement, focus, reactions, decisions. At night, it needs to slow down, repair small damage, clean up the leftovers of stress. If your mind keeps pushing it at daytime speed, over time it will start sending signals. Headaches, insomnia, waves of fatigue that do not make sense. Tonight, you can choose to stand on the side of your body. You can treat all your future questions like unread emails in your inbox. Look at them once without denying them. Admit, yes, these are things I worry about. Then imagine hitting snooze until tomorrow, 9 a.m. on each email. You are not deleting them. You are not pretending they do not exist. You are just setting a rule. We do not process these at 1 or 2 in the morning. You might think, but if I do not think about them now, won't I forget? In reality, anything you worry about enough to bring into bed will still be there in the morning. You do not need to remind yourself. Marcus often reminded himself to stay inside the present. He wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." Your present is not next week's meeting. It is not 6 months from now. It is not your 40-year-old or 50-year-old self. Your present is this familiar room, this bed, this tired but living body, this breath happening right now, this night that is already half gone. You do not have to erase the idea of the future. You only need to step down temporarily from the role of person responsible for every possible future scenario. You can imagine that in this room there is another version of you, the morning version, standing there, more awake, with light on their face, holding a notebook and a pen. You can hand that morning self all of tonight's questions. Tomorrow, think more about changing jobs. Tomorrow, review how I talk to this person. Tomorrow, revisit my financial plan. Then let that version of you disappear into tomorrow. Tonight, you are left with the version that is simply lying here, with nothing to solve, just breathing. Right now, if you listen carefully, you will notice your body has already heard the message. Your heart is not beating as fast as when you first lay down. Your eyelids feel heavier. Each blink lasts a little longer than before. From here, stillness stops being a philosophical concept. It becomes a very precise feeling when the mental tasks start turning off the lights, returning their keys, and leaving the night shift. And the only things left in your mind are a few light thoughts, not urgent, not demanding answers. You will still notice them, the way you still hear cars in the distance. You know they are there, but they do not fill the whole space. You can whisper to yourself again, the rest tomorrow morning. My tomorrow self and my today self will handle it together. Right now, the most important job is sleep. This sentence sounds simple, but for a mind that has treated thinking more as a duty, it is a small revolution. If Marcus were here with you, he might add one more line. A rested mind is a clearer, stronger, fairer mind. An exhausted mind turns every problem into a disaster. You do not have to be productive in your sleep. You do not need to learn new skills or build willpower while you rest. Tonight, you can let sleep be just sleep. Not a tool, not a task, just a place where your body and mind lay down what they no longer need and recharge what they still do. Outside, dawn will come whether you stay awake to monitor it or not. The sun does not need you to think for 2 more hours before it can rise. The cycles of life, day then night, night then day, keep turning as they have for thousands of years before you arrived. A tiny part of the trust you can practice tonight is this: trust that tomorrow will come. And when it does, you will be the person you are slowly building, starting right here in the moment you decide to let yourself sleep. You have spent so many nights standing guard at the door, afraid that if you sleep, something terrible will happen that you cannot control. Tonight, you can put that guard shift down. The door is still locked. Your phone can stay nearby if there is a true emergency. But you do not need to stand watch in your head. From here, the rest of this journey will not need many words. We will move more slowly, fewer thoughts, more sensations, the body sinking into the bed, the breath growing steady, the sound of the night getting smaller. If at some point you fall asleep in the middle of this, that is not abandoning the journey. That is the best possible sign. that tonight, for once, you have handed the weight back to the morning and allowed yourself to rest simply as a human being. By now, almost everything important for tonight has been said. You have looked back on your day, you have separated what is in your hands from what has to wait. You have changed how you speak to yourself, less like a judge, more like a friend. You have returned to your body, to your breath, to this small room. From this point on, you do not need to understand anything more. You do not need any more lessons. You do not need to keep your mind on high alert. The rest of the night belongs to your body, to your sleep, to the quiet. You only need to stay with it a little longer. If your eyes are still open, you can let your eyelids grow heavy, not squeezing them shut, just no longer forcing them to stay open. If your eyes are already closed, you can notice the darkness behind them. It is not a flat black, it is a soft, deep kind of dark, like a cloudless night sky. Your breath, if you listen, is not the same as when you first lay down. It is slower, longer, less rushed. You do not need to shape it any further. Every now and then, just remember, I am breathing, I am still here, I still have the chance to rest. You can let your attention slowly flow down to your feet. All day they have carried you through big and small distances. Now they are just lying quietly under the blanket. You can imagine each toe like a small finger that has been working overtime. You give them their clock out time. Let them soften, not curl, not grip. From your feet, your awareness travels up to your ankles, your calves, your knees. If you sat too long, stood too long, drove too long, these parts may be sore. You do not need to massage them. You only need to send a simple message inside, thank you. Tonight you get to rest. Your body understands that language even without ears. From your knees, you move up to your thighs, your hips. This is where a lot of tension hides, from sitting, standing, clenching without noticing. You can adjust your position just enough so your hips are not twisted or forced to hold your weight in an awkward way. Again, not a perfect pose, just a little more comfortable than when you first lay down. Your back is stretched out on the mattress, a long surface being supported. You can imagine each vertebra being placed down one by one, your upper back between your shoulder blades, your middle back, the part that often aches after a day at the computer, your lower back, the part that throbs when you are stressed. Give each area 1 or 2 breaths. Inhale and feel how tight it is. Exhale and let it sink just a bit deeper into the bed. Do not aim to release everything. Just ask, can you let go of 5%? 5% here and 5% there across your whole body is already a real difference. Your shoulders. All day they have been carrying bags, carrying pressure, carrying expectations. For at least a few minutes tonight, let them drop fully onto the mattress, no longer holding up the image of the strong one. You can imagine someone standing behind you, resting their hands gently on your shoulders, and pressing down just enough to remind you, let them fall. You do not have to hold everything up tonight. Your arms and hands, they have typed, steered, scrolled, cooked, cleaned. Now they can lie by your sides, not clenched, not gripping the blanket. If your hands are in fists, open them and let your fingers fall loose. Your chest, where your heart lives, where your breath passes. All day it may have been beating fast, for deadlines, for a hard conversation, for a worrying message. Now, if you rest your hand on your chest, you can feel the rhythm has slowed. You do not need to make it slower, just send it one clear signal. There is no danger here right now. This room is safe. This is off-duty time. Your belly, where stress often hides, tightening when you worry, when you fear, when you're angry. Let it rise when you breathe in and fall when you breathe out. If you notice you are unconsciously sucking your stomach in, allow it to soften the way you do when you are home alone and do not have to hold it in for anyone. Your neck, your jaw, your face. These are where the masks live. All day you have had to smile at the right times, nod at the right times, hold a neutral expression, not too happy, not too sad. Tonight, in the dark, no one is watching. You do not need to wear any face. You can let your lips part slightly, your teeth no longer pressed together, your tongue no longer stuck to the roof of your mouth. Your forehead can smooth out like a sheet of paper being gently flattened. Your eyes do not have to keep watch anymore. Your whole body from head to toe now feels like one solid weight slowly sinking into the bed. Not heavy from sadness, heavy the way something feels when it has been placed back where it is meant to rest. Outside, the night is deeper than when we started. A few last cars go by, their engines fading into the distance. More windows go dark. The city has entered the hours meant only for night owls and broken sleep. You, in this room, are lying inside a very small but very steady circle. Walls, ceiling, floor, bed, blanket, pillow. A private retreat that you and Marcus have been building inside you all night. You have learned a little more about how your mind works. You have seen more clearly the sentences you direct at yourself. You have practiced new sentences, slower, kinder, truer. Now it is time for all of that to move to the background. No more philosophy is needed, no more quotes. The most important things have already reached you. Stillness now is not in the words. It is in the spaces between your breaths, between your thoughts, between the tiny sounds of the night. You can count, if you like, not to control anything, but to keep yourself here in this moment. Inhale, 1, 2, 3. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Or you can forget counting completely and just listen to your breath as a soft background sound. If a new thought appears, what do I have to do tomorrow? When will I finally feel better than this? Can I really change? You do not need to fight it or follow it. Just notice. Okay, I am thinking again. Then gently return to the feeling of your body on the bed. If that is too hard, you can use a simple sentence to bring yourself back, like a small, gentle mantra with no pressure in it. Here, tonight, this is enough. Every time your mind runs off, whisper that to yourself again, like putting a hand on the shoulder of a child who wants to run into the street and guiding them back under the porch. You do not need to defeat every thought. You only need to stop letting them pull you out of this bed, out of this room, out of this moment. Sleep will come when it comes. You cannot schedule it as if it were a meeting, but you can make it easier for sleep to find you. A dark room, a body that is no longer braced, a mind that is not gripping everything at once. If your eyes are starting to feel very heavy, if your head feels a little floaty, not from exhaustion, but from the brain slowing down, that is a good sign. You do not need to pull yourself back up. Let yourself drift. Drift away from today's story, away from faces, emails, conversations, into a wide, dark space where no one needs you to answer, perform, or be strong. Only breath, heartbeat, night sounds, and your quiet presence. If, in a few minutes, my words start to blur and you only hear the tone, and then even the tone drifts away. That is natural. You are not missing anything. Everything that needed to touch you tonight has already touched you. If you fall asleep, just sleep. Let your body do what it is designed to do: clean up, heal, recharge. If you stay awake a bit longer, that is okay too. You are not broken, you are not weak. Your mind has been tense for a long time. It may need more proof that nothing urgent is required of it tonight. You can lie here, keep following your breath, and let each group of muscles soften again and again. No rush, no forcing. No one here is grading you on how fast you fall asleep. No one is judging you for needing more time to feel safe. I am still here with you in this quiet, not to teach you anything more, just to remind you one last small thing. You do not have to be perfect to deserve rest. Even a day full of mistakes, full of tiredness, full of awkward moments, still deserves to end with a gentle sleep. For the rest of this night, let your body handle the sleeping. Your mind can take a break. The questions, the plans, the fears, we can leave them where they are. We can come back to them on another night.